Oh. I let go. Ah. This was such a good idea, so poorly thought through.
Officer's log 07. Stardate 24-01-2081. We have come a long way since we were cast adrift. We have access to raw resources, the means to harvest them, the capability to refine them, and the power to fabricate them into the components we need. If we are to make it planet-side, or locate any survivors, we will need to establish a communications array. Constructing a control tower on the base is the first step towards this goal.
Hello everyone and welcome back to the Void. Today we've got a few things we need to work on. We have to refit the worker bee. It's functional and it works, but when it's full it's too sluggish, so a Mark II is on the cards. We need to expand the base. Now last episode we made the assembly room, the fabrication building, which is now all sealed up, airtight, welded up, everything's nice. So we have plenty of fabrication capacity. We have plenty of refining capacity because we made the refinery building a couple of episodes ago. So now we need to build a reactor room now that we have found uranium, and we also need to build a control center. Somewhere where we can house our programmable blocks, somewhere we can put our communications equipment, somewhere where we can control everything from. Now, I've got a few plans for that. If we come on over here, I'm thinking of bringing the communications room tower thing off the end of this airlock section, up this cliff face, and putting a tower up here so it's got a nice clear overview of everything that's going on. Almost like an air traffic control tower kind of thing. So that's kind of where I'm thinking of it going. And then the reactor, I might bury it within the asteroid because it will be a very valuable piece of the outpost. So I think that's roughly what I have planned for this episode. I want to redesign the worker bee and make a Mark II, and I want to at least get the control room done, which I think should be plenty. If we get a bit of time, maybe add an extra couple of landing pads because I think we'll need them. Either way, let's get working. So the problem with the worker bee is it is sluggish. When it's full, it doesn't have enough thrust for the amount of mass that it can hold. So what I'm thinking is halving the amount of cargo containers it can have, and then upping the amount of thrust. Those are my two options. So to up the thrust, I can just bolt some extra thrusters onto the sides, which will make it a bit more bulky. I didn't really want it to be bulky, I wanted it to be relatively small. So we could always upgrade this one, or we can do a slight redesign with less cargo space, and I think the same amount of thrusters and batteries. It should work much better with only half the cargo. So I think we'll do both. We'll do a redesign of this one for a more compact welding ship, but we'll also keep in mind upgrades we can do to this one, adding more ion thrusters and the like. So the first thing we need to start with is our connector. I think what I'll do is I'll get some bones put down for this. Get the skeleton down, and then I'll explain what I've done. Okay, so this is what we've got so far. It's only got slightly less cargo than the original worker bee, because we've got 2 mediums and 1 modular. We've only got 1 welder instead of 2. I've added some oxygen and some oxygen tanks and a hydrogen tank so that we can recharge our oxygen and our hydrogen while we're in the cockpit, even while we're just floating around. In terms of weight, the small ones are twice as weight inefficient or mass inefficient as the big ones are. So I'm better off going with some bigger ones. The question is, where do I put them? Let's have a look at the thruster placement, and we will come back once I've settled on something. Okay, so we're getting there. We've got forwards, backwards, left, right, up, down. We have our gyros in place on the back. We need to add an antenna, which we can do in the back here. We can add a remote control block, which I can either put in the back or put in the front underneath here. I'm undecided on that yet. Remote control, antenna, lights. And then a bit of decorative framework. Okay, so I got a little bit carried away with the greebling. But it's here. We've got the improved worker bee. It's got more thrust, less cargo, but it should be much more maneuverable. We've got additional gyros. I've thrown on 2 event controllers. One of them will be used to control the docking behaviour. The other one is a spare in case we decide to do something else later. We've got landing gear, we've got connectors, welder, thrusters, cameras all around, fancy accents, and some little engine flare things. So if we do just a side-by-side, in terms of just size and profile, Mark II is a little bit thinner, a little bit taller, and a tad bit longer. So it's thinner, taller, longer. That's fine. I don't think there's anything else which needs to go on the back there, but I'm sure we'll keep it open just for now, because I'm sure as we use this ship, we'll figure out things that we've missed. Okay, so what we've done is we've configured the event controller, added a few more floodlights, and given us a couple of static lights as well, so that we can A, easily see where the ship is, and B, easily see our surroundings, especially underneath us. So now we should be good to go. The event controller's been configured, so when we dock, the thrusters turn off, the floodlights turn off, the batteries change to recharge, the tank's set to stockpile, the antenna turns off, and then obviously when we undock, they all turn on automatically, which is nice. So that's all set up, that's ready to go. Let's leave that recharging, because we only really need it when the sun comes back around. Right, let's let this recharge then, and let's start planning out the control tower. Doing the pipework is the first step, because it gives us a framework to work off of. Now I've just extracted a whole bunch of steel plate, which means I can build a nice little tower and see roughly how everything lines up. So I want to plant our foundations for our control tower right on this ridge here. Means I think we need to go up one more. No, we need to go up. Yeah, we need to go up one more again. Nice. That is how high we need to raise up this section. We need the control tower for the next steps. Because ultimately, what I want to do is where is the nearest planet? One moment. There's a planet around here somewhere. Oh, this could be problematic for my plans. Let's go find this planet. Okay, as you can see, the sun is rising over the horizon. I did go on a little detour, which I realised was completely unnecessary. The reason for the detour was I lost where the planets were. They're up there. They're right there. Don't know why I couldn't see them. I thought they were out this way or out that way. No, they're right up there, which works brilliantly in our favour. So, the plan, once I've got my control tower set up, and this outpost is pretty much full functioning, fully self-sufficient, I want to send out a set of craft to scout out the planet. Now, I could do jump drives. They're a pain in the arse, but I can do them. But I was more thinking of just sending a probe out, trying out the laser antennas. Now, the fact that we have line of sight towards the closest planet, in fact towards all the planets from this location, works really well in our favour. Because what we can do, we can set up our control tower. Oh, we're about to go into the sun. Hello, sunlight. We can set up our control tower, and on top of it will be all our communications. We'll have laser antennas, we will have normal antennas. That's the idea. Communications tower. Now, one of the laser antennas will be pointing that away. And what I want to do is I want to do a string of satellites between here and the planet. I think every 1,000 kilometers. And there'll be just self-sufficient satellites with laser antennas to act as relays. So we could send a probe out with these satellites attached and drop them off on the way. And we can use that to scout out this distant planet to see whether it is habitable and suitable for colonization. That's the goal. That is our end goal. Okay, so I think I figured out what I'm going to do. What I'm going to do is I'm going to do a 3x3 staircase so that you can just fly straight up the middle of the jetpack. If you don't have a jetpack, you can walk it. Gives us opportunities to have external walkway entrances and stuff like that. Extra corridor joining in the future. To do that, I think the best way forward is to attach a 3x3 drill up here and just piston it straight down through this rock face just to clear us a nice clear area to work with. So I'm going to start working on getting the drill set up. Okay, so because the sun is shining, I've decided to use the worker bee for this. I mean, I can I can't weld them up and find out because it's going to collide with the ground. Okay, let's throw a drill on that, because I think 3 pistons and the length of the drill should be enough to get down to where we need, and if it doesn't, we just take the drills off and we put more pistons on. Simples. Let's grab the drills, and then we can start trying to weld this up. Now, it might be worth... Yeah, it might be worth hopping out to do some of the welding, but we'll see. For now, we'll continue using the worker bee. Or that is why it was made. Oh look, something just broke. God damn it, what broke? What did I break? Something broke, I saw something fall off. Nothing broke. Probably should have taken a blueprint, I can't lie. A blueprint and a projector. Yeah, that makes sense. Why did it look like something broke then? Oh! That block broke because of the flare from the engine. Ah, okay. How the hell is this still... I was going to say, how is it still floating? It's in space, there's no gravity. That's going to be problematic. Okay. Okay, maybe I'll need to actually weld up some of this support structure for the moment. If I'm going to be using the worker bee. See, it's nothing that a little bit of merge block shenanigans can't fix. Please don't break anything else. No. This seems sensible. on, line yourself up. There we go. Right. Let's reinforce this structure so that we don't accidentally destroy it with our engines. There we go. The drills have all... Oh, other than the one in the middle. Maybe. Possibly. We'll see. I'm hoping all the drills have been welded up now. Okay, so the drills have been welded up. Time to see whether we have enough pistons. Alright, let's bring this piston down first. Did I... Oh, I was one block short. One block short. Yes, I can cut off that merge block and just push it down a bit. Okay. Right, let's retract the pistons, drop the entire assembly by 2. Right, let's just move this assembly back into place now that we've repositioned the merge block. So let's move this assembly back into place, and then we can try again. Oh, 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 oh. I didn't take into account how much stone there was in these drills and how heavy they are. They are really clanging out. Okay, hang on. I let go. Ah. Oh dear. This could be problematic. This was such a good idea. So poorly thought through. Okay, we need to try and rescue this before that drifts off. Okay, let's try grabbing the drills directly. Because we shouldn't get so many phantom forces by not picking up through the piston. Okay. This is working. It's not great. I'm going to have to try and figure out a way to get the stone out of these drills. Now, I can see myself getting thrown into a cliff when I merge this on. Which is not ideal. It's not ideal in the slightest. Okay, what's the best way to unload these drills? Bit of a predicament. I don't know the best way to handle this. I mean, the simple answer is unload the drills. Get conveyor pipe up here, get the drills unloaded into the base. But I can't do that until I merge it back onto the grid. Unless I put a connector on here and unload it with one of my ships. I suppose I could do... I could use this worker bee to hold it in place and use the original worker bee, the Mark 1, to shuttle components to and fro. Yeah, no, we can do that. Let's just move this up and away from that merge block slightly, so that I've got a nice connection point for the other worker bee. No, this is fine. Right. We have a connector. Okay, let's just rotate you like this. Line you up with a connector. That'll do. Let's grab all the stone. Avoiding colliding with anything else. Okay, we'll just have to shuttle this a couple of times. No biggie. Okay, last run. Cool, right. Those drills can now be manoeuvred without clanging out, hopefully. At least they can be manoeuvred more easily, that's for sure. Oh, I've overshot massively. Okay, so with the drills emptied and the connector ground off, I suppose what we need to do now is try and reconnect these merge blocks without sending the Worker Bee Mark II into a pit. Hopefully, this shouldn't be too difficult. He says incredibly optimistically. There we go. Merge blocks are lining up. There we go. That was a bit of a shake, but we are good. Let's disconnect from this. There we go. Problem solved. That could have ended horribly. I'm well aware. But it didn't. Thankfully. Right, let's get these drills extended down a bit more. And then hopefully we can start building our control tower. Right. Almost there. Come on. The last little excavation. I really hope I cut off enough. I might need to hand mine just the tiniest little bit to finish it off. But that's fine. That actually works quite well. We are ever so slightly proud of the floor, but again, that's fine. In the actual pit itself, we'll be able to have floors galore. Right, let's retract these. Okay, so we've got the same issue now as we had before, where the drills have a lot of stone and are really difficult to unload. I've just had an idea where if I just grab it with the Worker Bee. Oh, no, apparently. There we go. And we just bring this all the way back over to the landing pad. Oh, at least I would if I didn't collide. Oh, this could be problematic. Yeah, this one's much less strong, isn't it? Okay. Let's try something different. Let's go put this one back for the moment. We'll take it over with the Mark II. The Mark II should be able to move without any issues, as long as I don't get too close to the drive plume. Not only was I trying to move this, which is full of stone, that's also full of components as well, so yeah, it's heavy. And unload, and we'll do this until it's empty. Okay, let's finish digging out this little lip here. So this is the room we've got to work with. It'll be a 5x5 outer wall, 3x3 inner wall, a staircase that goes round, and the central shaft will just be open so that you can jet back up. Is the idea. I'm going to have to mess around with a few designs, I think, and then settle on what I like the most. Okay, so I think I'm going to settle on this design. It's kind of like a ridged step in, step out kind of deal. I think it looks quite nice. And then in between these sections here, maybe windows. I don't think I'll do the sheet glass. I think we'll use some of these, the window walls. We'll experiment and we'll figure it out, I think. On each of these rings, it's going to be a solid floor. And I also want to make them individually airlocked, if I can, or at least separated by doors. So the staircase will come up. There'll be probably a corridor that it goes into and a door, just to segregate it from the floor below. So that's going to be interesting in and of itself. The other thing that I want to do is I want to run a pipe inside up this entire length here. It's going to go up in this corner. So there will just be a pipe running the entire length, because that's going to be how we get cargo access up to the top of the tower. Or at least one of the ways. So that's going to be another wrinkle. It might be difficult to fit everything in that I want to do. But we'll try. We'll make it work. This is part of the engineering challenge. It's a 3x3 room where I want a staircase with an airlock for each floor. And I want a central shaft, which also is airlocked on each floor. We'll see. I'm not sure how I'm going to make this work. Okay. This is the current plan. The plan has changed several times. This is now the current plan. We have this shaft, which we can just fly straight up, if we so desire. Each section of the shaft will have a door. So the entire shaft will be complete throughput, but each floor will have its own door, which is how we're going to keep it segregated, keep all the rooms separated. In this section, where the staircase will come through the floor, we will cover it with passageways, so it will be completely covered, or panels maybe. Passageways, panels, glass, I'm not too sure how I'm going to cover it, but it will be covered. So that will keep the staircase separated from the rooms, so that keeps all the other rooms separated. And that is currently the idea. It's all starting to come together from the original starting room into this nice transitionary piece. Now I'm thinking of putting some kind of living quarters in this space, because it's all going to be airtight. All the rooms will be segregated. I think a living quarters kind of space up here is going to be quite nice. Okay, so I've settled on a design for the stairwell. It's not ideal, but it works. So the first thing is we've got these passages, which will cover the approach onto the next floor and help separate the floors. We have the airlocks between what will be the stairwell and the shaft, jetpack shaft. And then we've got the stairwell itself. So in each room, it will start inside the room and then go up into where the passage goes into the next room. So this is the transition room for the airlock, which is relatively plain and boring, other than it doesn't have any functional. It's got your recharge station, it's got your cargo access. Other than that, it's not all that functional. However, the exciting part comes in the next section, because we can now segregate these floors into floors that make sense. So what I've done is I've outfitted this floor as a living quarters. So we have everything we need to call this home on floor 1 of the tower, which leads me on to floor 2. Now floor 2 is a little bit bare and is still exposed to the elements. Now I'm not too sure what I want to do here. I'm thinking maybe something not quite medical, but lab related. Or we could do this as a storage room and have the lab on the next floor. I think one of these floors will be storage, the other one will be lab. And by storage I mean like a... Yeah, I think this floor will be more of a storage room. Yeah, I think this is going to be storage racks and like the freight containers and that kind of thing. This floor can be our lab's floor, so this will be where our experiments are. This, I'm not sure what we're going to do right at the top here. It's only a 1-tool space. Yeah, I think this will be a transition room more than anything else. So I'm going to continue building out this tower. And we'll come back once this is complete. Okay, so the main structure for this tower is now in place. The foundations are in. So I'm just going to quickly tidy it up, give it a lick of paint, and then I will show you what I have done. Originally, this was supposed to be a transition corridor type thing, but actually I think I will use this as the main body of the tower. I'll build it up a little bit higher, and then I'll put like the control area on top. Because it's got quite a commanding view over the base. And it just makes things a little bit easier. Okay, painting has been done. Let's walk you guys through what we have done here with this tower. So the bottom floor, the immediate bottom floor, we have room to expand. So I floated the idea of taking the reactor room deeper further into the asteroid. So we can always build that off of this point here. So we go from this airlock, which joins onto the main structure of the base. We've got this staircase here, which leads up to another junction. But more importantly, the main living area. I've got my little computer here, which gives me the summary of what's going on inside the base. I've got a couch. I've got a couch, which gives me somewhere to sit and chill. I have all the nature things. I've got a terrarium. And a terrarium. And an aquarium. Some nice plants, which are just hiding behind the stairs. We've got some books. I'm floating. We have another nice planter. We have our toilet and our shower. As well as our kitchen. A nice little coffee table area where we can store some bits and pieces. And we have our bed. So we can have a nice little snooze. Means you don't have to rely on the cryopod so much. And then we can continue on up to the next section where there's another junction. So this area can be completely pressurized independently to everywhere else. And I've missed some painting. I missed some... Oh, that's the wrong colour. There we go. So yeah, this junction means that each of the rooms can be pressurized individually. So moving in, we have this storage area. We've got some barrels to act as emergency storage. We have some shelves which have some very important components on in case we run short or there's an emergency. We have a little box which we can put things in. We have our lockers and our spacesuits and our armory. So this area here is purely for storing weapons and stuff just in case. Moving on up to the next floor, we have our experimentation, our lab. This is where we can do some little tests, do some research, some innovation, relearn how to build some large ships. Another little computer here, which I need to put something on the screen. Got a nice little workstation here. So we have our little lab area here. And moving on up to the final floor, which is currently just another transition floor. Currently undecorated. I might put a handful of things in here, but I don't quite know what it's going to be. But this brings us up to the top of what will be the control tower. All in all, it's starting to look really nice. It adds a little bit of colour to an otherwise drab base. I do need to go around and do a bit more painting, I think. Okay, so I've opted not to go for additional floors. And instead, I've widened out the top, given it this this air traffic control tower vibe with the bridge windows all the way around. And the idea being, well, the rationale is this interior space here is more than enough for me to put in programmable blocks, event controllers, timers, all that kind of thing. So this is going to be the control room. And then on the roof, I'm thinking of mounting a big parabolic antenna. Maybe a couple of the smaller antennas off on the sides. And a handful of laser antennas. Get a few decorations in here to make it look important. I need some lights as well. So there's a lot of interior work to be done. And then I also need to cut an airlock through here so that we've got external access without having to go all the way from the bottom of the tower. So we have internal access through this shaft here. We have internal walkable access via the staircase. We have external access via this airlock here, which allows us to put a walkway in. Okay, we'll think of how we're going to do some of the aesthetics. We'll do some interior decorating, get some functional blocks down, and get these antennas on. So I think I've settled on a dish design, and to be fair, I quite like this. It's giving that antenna vibe. Now I've offset it, and I've reduced its size a little bit, so it doesn't overpower things. The next thing I need to do is align it, because I want to point it towards this closest planet here, the green one. So if we point it towards the green planet, now I've got a little camera to help with the alignment, because otherwise I'm just kind of eyeballing it. Hopefully this gives us a nice starting point. There we go, that's pretty... I mean, that's probably as close as I'm going to get for alignment, but that works quite nicely. The next thing to do is going to be to get a few laser antennas on this as well, because realistically, that is what's going to give us, or allow us to achieve what I want to achieve. Now, in terms of laser antennas, I can't let them get blocked by the dish. So as long as I put them probably in the opposite corner, where they've got nice lines of sight. Yeah, as long as they're not directly underneath the dish itself, or even just along this side here. Let's have a look. What do laser antennas look like? Yeah, we'll give them a go. We'll try embedding them into the roof. And then I think 3 is going to be more than enough for our purposes. Alright, let's get these built in and integrated, and we'll see what things look like. To make navigating the tower slightly easier, I've put in a gravity generator, and I've realised that, well, it goes in the direction which it's attached to, which means mounting it on the ceiling like I wanted to isn't really the best way forward, because it's now pulling... Can I just put a minus sign in front of that? Oh, I can. There we go. Nice. We have artificial gravity, which makes using the stairs a lot easier. So a few updates since we've last checked in. We have our control seat. This is where we're going to be doing a lot of our remote control work, that kind of thing. It gives us a nice visibility of all the pads. We have our control room. Our control room is all decked out with our programmable blocks. We've got 4 in total. It should be okay. We've also got 6 event controllers, which should be more than enough for the moment. We've got 4 timer blocks, which again, more than enough. We have an action relay and a remote control, so that we can do 2-way remotes. We've got the broadcast controller, which will allow us remote monitoring when we are out in the field. And that's it for this floor of the control tower. Now, as I touched on previously, we have gravity. Everything is airtight. if we go externally through this airlock which we've got here, I've put on this little walkway just so that we can easily land and get inside. We have our laser antennas. This is going to be what will enable us to do the long-range remote probe mission to the planet. But we'll touch on more of that in the next episode. Other than that, there's no other updates I can make, other than the tower is now complete, I believe. I don't think there's anything else I need to add to it. If there is, well, we'll just slowly upgrade it as and when we need to. But yeah, I'm really happy with how this has turned out.
Officer's log 07. Addendum. Stardate 02-02-2081. The Worker Bee Mark II has been assembled, with vast improvements to the manoeuvrability and minimal compromises on silhouette, power, and cargo. The comms tower has been constructed and integrated into the base, housing 5 distinct rooms. The lower airlock, which interfaces with the rest of the base. The living quarters, where I can monitor the base in relative comfort. The storage room / armory, for keeping various components and ammo in reserve. The lab, to help me research vital technologies. And the main control center, where I will coordinate the search for survivors and the surveying of the nearby planet. Next time, we will need to focus on setting up some reactors so we can start putting together the survey craft. This is Fiery Shadows of the UPML, signing off.